if I'm a single black male and I'm having trouble dating and I'm seeing, whether I want to admit it or not, there are patterns that are developing in my dating life. It's not all the women at some point. At some point, I got to put the mirror on myself, assess, and own some of my shortcomings that could be leading to these continuous failed relationships. A lot of black men have trouble getting to that point.
This is Caesar Walker, the cool, calm, collected one.
And I'm Walker and Gatrey, the emotional one.
And we are the Tipping Point Podcast, your source for the black male's perspective.
Tipping Point Podcast.
And we got a lot of good feedback. And I had a lot of people reach out, like more than normal, reach out via text, DM, the whole nine. And got some good feedback on terms of like the direction of the conversation, the things we talked about, and how needed it is in terms of black men, and how it even went to help some black men that I come in close contact with. But what I want to share with y'all is a conversation I had with a good friend of mine about this podcast. And he was talking about just how valuable it is and how it was like a form of therapy. I know I've said that to y'all before, but this was like a very lengthy, like 20 to 30 minute combo about this. And he was very complimentary about the podcast and the direction. And this particular friend, believe it or not, I've known him for a long time, but had never listened to the podcast before. Yeah, I thought I'd gotten everybody, but apparently my efforts were not successful. But that's neither here nor there. I don't know where it is. But we got to talking about this, and he was kind of dissecting it. And one of the things he talked about as our conversation veered off was the topic of ownership. And, you know, not in terms of business or assets, but in terms of like emotional ownership, and how as black men, in his opinion, one of the things that holds us back most is we don't want to own certain things about where we are in life. You know, like if there are obvious shortcomings that we have in terms of like bringing light to them, you don't necessarily have to bring light to them on a public medium, or like share it on Instagram or social. But internally, like, you got to own the fact that whatever shortcomings you're dealing with do exist, and you have to make that decision to whether if I am going to own it, what comes after that. Mm-hmm. And so that conversation leaned into mental health and things like that. But it was so great to hear, just because it made me think of me and this, like, my ongoing maturation. And something Rashad was talking about our frontal lobe or whatever for men, leads to a delayed maturity or whatever. I need to be on the cover of that magazine, because I know he was talking about me, and that's fine, because that's the truth. But I took a minute and did some inventory and just thought, I was thinking about our marriage in particular, just how far we've come. But our biggest enhancements, or our biggest victories in terms of getting over things has been when I take the responsibility of owning certain things that have happened, right? Doesn't mean I have the solution. Doesn't mean I know why all the time, but like, no, look, this is on me. Like, I could have done better here, and I own that. And this friend of mine and I were just in depth about like how that particular action is very scarce in the black male community. And so anyway, as he was talking, my first thoughts were like, okay, definitely bringing this to the booth for the guys to chop up. But considering what I just shared, are there any thoughts? You've got something on the side of your nose, by the way.
Oh, do?
Yeah.
Did you have to say it like?
I'm sorry, Walker.
You just had to say it for the pod.
What, Black? It was eating at me. I wasn't going to just sit there and let it be there.
But it's been at a whole pod.
I know. But
it's not in my nose, for the record.
Did I say in?
You said bye.
Okay. There you go. He's back.
No, you're back. I don't even remember the question.
So in thinking of what I've shared about black male ownership, emotional ownership, the scarcity of that, according to my friend. What is that? What do you think about that?
Just so I understand, ownership of where you currently are emotionally.
Well, I tagged it emotional ownership just because, like, if I'm a single black male and I'm having trouble dating, and I'm seeing, whether I want to admit it or not, there are patterns that are developing in my dating life. It's not all the women. At some point, I got to put the mirror on myself, assess, and own some of my shortcomings that could be leading to these continuous failed relationships. What he was saying was, in his opinion, a lot of black men have trouble getting to that point.
Could you give an example of a married man?
Yeah, I'll share some of my stuff. Like one of the things that I'm guilty of, was guilty of, and I think I'm doing better with this now. No, I am doing better with this. I'm not thinking I know it, but I would expect my wife to read my mind a lot. I would expect that, and I would throw the biggest tantrums when she didn't. And the the resolution of that is, it goes back to simple communication. Okay, A, she's not going to read your mind because she's not a mind reader. B, if you got something you want her to do or want her to know, just tell her. And it'll be fine, right? And it has been fine. But in thinking of that, I know there was a period in our marriage to where I was blaming her for not reading my mind. So I had to take ownership of the fact that you're not a mind reader, and take ownership of the fact that the reason we have these same issues or same fights about whatever it is, it goes back to the fact that I approach you as a mind reader. So, of course, big picture, I had to do the work to find out, okay, well, how do I stop doing this? Thank you, therapy. How do I stop doing this? Oh, it's something simple as asking a question. Okay, well, let me just ask her the dang question.
You're so funny, man.
What?
Because it just sounds like I've heard that before, but it's usually from the perspective of
a woman.
Yeah.
A
man. I was trying to think about how to say that.
No, just like, call it what it is. Call it what it is. Like, I'm okay with
reversal.
that. I'm okay with that. Like, y'all are right. Traditionally, yeah, it's flipped.
What I'm hearing in your conversation, I'm hearing accountability is what I'm ultimately hearing.
Yeah.
I mean, I
but
know,
you know how black guys get when we say that term.
Well, how most people get. I don't think that's specific to black men, because accountability only feels good when you're dishing it out to other people.
Yeah.
It never feels good when it turns back on you.
Right.
Right? Because now you got to take a hard look at yourself. You have to take a hard look at what you're doing. And sometimes there's a disconnect between, it's almost kind of like how we think we look. Like, I thought I was fine, but you actually saw something on the side of my nose. And so...
And announced it
to the whole world. That didn't happen. So...
I just want to know what the alternative is.
Don't know. You could pause. I mean, you can pause and say we come back.
For an eye booger?
It wasn't an eye booger. See, this is where you are such a jerk.
All you had to do is hit
because
pause.
it was not in my nose, neither was it coming out of my eye. It was neither there.
It could have been a quick pause. Walker, check your nose. Bam. Back to recording.
My apologies, Walker.
It's okay.
It's expected at this point.
Yeah, at this point we're just like this is
but it beats
this is Gat-Gattin.
Finish. Okay, go ahead. Because I was about to go. It is not. Okay,
it's not important.
Right.
I promise you, I'm not tripping. You shouldn't trip.
Gotcha.
So, but again, it's I know you wanted to give it a nice little name like emotional ownership. That's what I think.
Is that not provocative?
I know you're into words and terms, but I'm more into definitions and what they mean. It sounds like accountability. Ultimately, because to your analogy you gave, or the example you gave of the guy who's had failed experiences in relationships, at what point does that guy say, hey, I'm the common denominator here? maybe I should take a close inventory into what I'm doing, right?
Right.
I did that after 2 females I dated, right? Because the relationships were eerily kind of similar in a way.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, these chicks never met each other, never had a conference about how they were going to date me. So why am I ending up with the same result if this is not what I want? I took a hard look at myself. And so I think the disconnect between who we think we are versus what's happening in real life is where accountability kind of actually shows you the mirror and shows you what's actually there. And you have to determine, okay, what I'm seeing is not what I thought it was. Who I am is not who I think I am, right?
Right.
Those two aren't in sync. So if I want that to change, then I can't keep making excuses. There's a need and a desire for us as men to want to achievement is a strong thing that drives us as men, right? It's linked to our ego, it's linked to our psyche, right? So when we achieve, when we do well, that does something for our self-esteem. So when we fall short of a target or we're not where we think we should be, that eats at us. And the last thing we want is someone else to point that out, right?
Yeah.
Talk to me. What's the hesitation?
I'm gonna be literal here. The last thing we want is somebody to point that out.
Yeah.
But the first thing we need is somebody to point that out.
I'm with you.
I've actually done something like that before. In my the program I was in at UAB, one of our assignments were to go around like to your peers and the people you report to or interact with at work and just ask them like what it is they feel that I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong, and where are areas of improvement. And I went and I just asked them all and like kept a log of everything they said to have like sort of give me accountability like where I need to improve. I don't know if that would be helpful in real life, but I did it at work.
Well, can guys do that?
We should.
Can we?
Yeah. We're capable of doing that. We have the ability.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes when I have discussions with my friends, I ask them to tell me like, am I saying this the wrong way? Like,
this is where it's important to have the right people around you. This is where this comes into play, because by nature, if you're surrounding yourselves with the right people, organically there's going to be a positive pressure on you to be a better version of yourself, because everyone is pushing towards something, right?
Right.
So it kind of makes you say, well, dog, let me get to doing something. Let me work on something. But it's easier also to go to those same individuals and ask for accountability on some things, right? Because these are people who you can visibly see are going in a certain direction, right? And so I think for men and just people in general, our pride can't be our downfall, in that we can't suffer in silence if there's a weakness there, right? The end goal is that we achieve and fulfill whatever purposes, whatever things that we're set out to achieve. If there's a roadblock, if there's a hang up there, therapy, a mentor, you know what I mean? There's resource. There's books. There's really no excuse in 2022, right? It's all in terms of you getting over this idea that you have to be all things to all people and have the answers to everything. You're just not, right? You're a big DC fan, Marvel fan. I'm a Marvel guy, superhero. Even though the person is a superhero, in most cases, that superhero had people in their corner helping them, right? Mm-hmm. You look at Batman, billionaire, Bruce Wayne. But he had Alfred. He had the guy who was making I can't think of his name right
Lucius Fox.
Lucius. He had Lucius basically helping him.
He had Catwoman.
He had Catwoman. He had a lot of people.
Spoiler alert.
Robin.
Like he had allies, right?
Two-Face.
So even
That wasn't an ally.
we got it. We got it, by the way.
But the one face. Go ahead.
We got it.
Okay.
So, but what I'm saying is that even a superhero in a movie, they don't do it all by themselves.
True.
Right?
Even Superman couldn't do it by himself.
And so what makes us think that we got to do it all by ourselves?
Right.
Now, and a lot of that has been kind of baked into our environment and culture, that you got to get it on your own and be a made man and you got to have work ethic and work hard and do that. But you also need to be surrounded by people who can hold you accountable and that you're willing to take accountability from and make the decision that you're going to be better.
Right.
So, yeah, I think you and your friend were right on the money with that. I think that's something that we as husbands should do more of, is take accountability. And I just think ultimately you build trust with your wife, because I think that, if you got a good woman, she's not expecting perfection from you. She's just expecting you, when the time calls for it, you're going to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And so when you're able to receive accountability and you know you need to make an adjustment, your ability to melt at the truth and humble yourself builds, like, she can follow you because she knows that I have a guy who has integrity. This guy has integrity. He has character. He's going to do the right thing. I can trust him.
Right.
May not be perfect, but I can at least trust him. Right. So I think that's important for us as husbands, just to model that for our families as well.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I want to thank y'all again, just because y'all are part of all these warm comments that I've been getting. So I know we plan to do more of this, but we're just getting started. Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
just
for
getting
sure.
started.
Keep Your Point Podcast.